supply chain, consulting, warehouse operation, market share, revenue, material handling, sales, transportation.
It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week.
Well, Chris, it's the end of the week, and here you are in Montreal again.
I'm happy to be back.
We're happy to have you.
Is this your second, maybe third podcast?
Second podcast.
Okay.
Well, you know, they get the best ratings, so
Did
that's
it?
why we have you back. Well, they get very good ratings, so yes.
Okay.
Very popular. You're photogenic, telegenic, I should say.
Yeah.
You
You'll
know.
be able to compare against your other podcasts. We'll see if you beat it.
Well, we'll have to ask Jeremy what the
You got to
results
give it
are.
time, though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about a 3PL food or cold storage. 3PL cold storage.
3PL cold storage.
Yes.
Because there was an interesting article in the news about some private equity-backed initiative to build out some very specialized cold storage, 3PL cold storage. Am I right?
Correct. Real cold
Real Cold
Is
is
the name of the-
is the name of the company.
and relate
Yep.
is equity. So yeah, they call it. The article was something like the $1 billion
Billion-dollar
bet to get your stake or something like that. And yeah, it's about them wanting to take a part of a piece of the market in 3PL cold storage, and so we can understand why.
What piece of the market?
Well, one that would serve the direct-to-consumer, which is something for which there is a great lack of capacity. Well, there's a lack of capacity in general in cold storage.
Mhm.
And then when we think about direct-to-consumer, and we can elaborate on this, there's not only there's a gap in capacity, but even
There's virtually nobody doing
yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's,
So we have, you know, you're saying by cold storage, first of all, for people, they might think cold, but really it's more about freezer than anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of work in that space with you have some 3PL freezer clients, and so you know more than anybody how much they are always looking to add space.
Well, it's interesting. Like we read the article, and like you said, the article was framed like this was a gamble.
Mhm.
But in my humble opinion, I don't think it's a gamble at all. This is like a guaranteed moneymaker.
Build it and you will fill it up.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's the Chris Hagel Field of Dreams. But we have these traditional cold storage operations. So for the audience who doesn't know, we really think about just big freezers.
Mhm.
And the traditional cold storage industry serves a lot of manufacturers.
Yep.
So I know out on the East Coast, you know, you'll have these freezers that fill up with blueberries and other harvests that you hold frozen, and then eventually you'll bag and sell as frozen fruit. But all across the country, you'll have your whatever, whether it's turkey or sausage or meat
Potato,
or pork.
apples.
Right, like everything, and then you have retailers that will hold, overstock in cold storage facilities. You have brands, the French fry folks, the
Mhm.
ice cream folks, all of them competing for this. But that traditional model, it's a pallet in, pallet out model.
Or maybe a case.
Maybe a case.
Highly unlikely they're doing unit picking.
They're not doing any unit picking. And that, on the flip side, if I'm doing direct to consumer and I'm a 3PL, well, I'm doing the obvious, almost if you think fulfillment by Amazon as sort of the largest player in North America, these are all ambient or room temperature distributed goods, shelf stable products, from makeup to pencils to whatever consumer goods people want. And so all that each picking, split case picking in a 3PL environment right now is overwhelmingly an ambient or room temperature thing. So you have these pallet in, pallet out, maybe a case once in a while, cold storage 3PLs. Then you have the direct consumer 3PLs who are not in the freezer space. And the question, I guess, is why haven't we brought, why is this one of the first attempts to bring the two together? Is it the first?
My thought as why legacy 3PLs might not have done this is their traditional business model, at least in the frozen space, is your revenue to cover your expenses, your break-even point comes from the storage of goods, and your profit comes from the transactional, like the receiving, the shipping. So my assumption is if you're looking at it from a speculative state like this, you have to have people that are providing you goods with a significant number of transactions, since you're not really going to be storing those goods for a long period of time.
And it's not only this, it's because when you think of, okay, what is sold direct to consumer that requires frozen? It's largely grocery, right?
Yeah.
It's the online grocery. So then if you're
largely, or so what else?
largely is entirely online grocery. So if you think, then put yourself in a position of a 3PL, you say, okay, well, will a grocer outsource its entire, because you're not going to start, I'll do just your frozen as a consumer, you're not going to order and then get an order from the retailer for your dry and maybe chilled, and then another order from a freezer. So as a 3PL, to sell direct-to-consumer frozen goods, it kind of doesn't really make sense, well, up to a certain time, which is, well, who could be using these services, right?
So I think there are lots of people who would use the service. In Korea, of course, we have a 3PL, direct-to-consumer 3PL folks who has freezer distribution. And the folks, so if I'm Lean Cuisine or Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, for example, anytime you have, whether it's for diet purposes or a whole host of nutritionally tailored meals that you serve frozen and then you warm up in the microwave or the oven. These are not things that are going through retail channels. They're going direct to consumer. And why should, if I was whoever these people are, why would I have my own infrastructure to
focus on the brand and the
I should
marketing?
just give it away to a 3PL. And I want to go back to one thing that you said, because this is an important point. If you say the traditional economic model of that 3PL in frozen is getting most of its revenue from the storage piece and generates that 10 or 15% of profit off actual charges for transactions, then you go back to, well, who are those customers for that space? I'm dealing with French fry people, I'm dealing with frozen fruit, frozen pea people, and I'm dealing with people who generate weeks and weeks of supply to hold. And your point is, well, that is not what this direct-to-consumer model would be. It would be a lot leaner in terms of weeks of supply, maybe look more like a retailer, so 3 or 4 weeks of frozen on hand. And in that environment, the transaction has to generate not only profit, but also cover all the costs.
Exactly.
It's a large thing.
So I think, like if you think about a conventional or traditional 3PL, you may have 2 or 3 large vendors in one building, where this model, I'm assuming you could have hundreds of smaller vendors and drive those transactions.
But and if I look to that Korean model, that's exactly the case, right? You have yogurt, people who make a very special yogurt, people who make smoothie blends, the nutrition specific meals. You'll have sort of we've seen this here in North America. We have some clients who do frozen meats, cuts of meat, very high quality cuts of meat that then they will ship direct to consumer, but that it's a frozen product. And anyway, I'm just thinking it's always going to be Well, it won't be too dissimilar from the dry 3PL, the ambient room temperature one, where it's specific brands who might have 30 to 100 SKUs and not that many pallets, and you're really the fulfillment service is the bulk of where you're going to fail or succeed.
So I threw it out there. I think this is a guaranteed moneymaker. Do you agree or disagree with it?
Well, it's a guaranteed. The demand is, I'll say, guaranteed. There is a demand. It's just it doesn't exist. But then it becomes, as we all know, on the execution side, is how do you guarantee you're going to make money? Is if you execute properly.
I mean, I would say what I think it's not as much of a bet as the article would claim, because I think what you'd say is if I fail, I still got freezer space and I just convert it and go to traditional 3PL storage, and wherever I put this warehouse, there's a local market for that freezer space.
Yes.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah.
But still, the aim. So it's not that much of a risky bet. But if you do want to achieve what you're trying to achieve, I mean, shipping. Direct to consumer fulfillment is labor intensive. It's not the easiest one to do. And now you've got this component of packaging, delivery costs, packaging. That is an added complexity than putting, little bags of air just so that your piece doesn't move in the
ice packs, insulation, all of those things.
And what I think will make or break this is not the execution of the facility or that operation. It'll be the last mile. Like when I read the article, they're building one facility in Texas, one in Florida, to cover who knows what square mileage.
That's it? Are those the only places?
To start, and then they're going to go to 6 other cities. But to me, it's the final mile is going to make or break this solution.
Well, they're going to use couriers, so they're going to have to your point, they're going to have to build well-insulated, the ice packs. One of the things that you discover when you're in that business is the amount of ice pack storage in the freezer. How much of your freezer you use up just to store the ice packs, because each box is 2 or 3 ice packs. So suddenly your number one mover in your warehouse becomes ice packs. And that's an ordeal. And there was, I've dealt with some folks who've, what cost justified whether they make their own ice packs on site or not. And it actually takes an enormous volume for you to get to a point where you say it makes sense to make your own ice packs versus just receiving and storing them. It's interesting. So if you don't have the right client in mind, client being who's going to come and use your space, that's a problem. The traditional 3PLs have all thought about this. The traditional cold storage folks have thought about it. There's a couple of hurdles that they have to overcome. One, it's a totally different warehouse management system and environment, right? The pick packing is just the packing function itself, but also efficient picking is so different than when all you have is a pallet in, pallet out operation. Often the cold storage folks, they have their own special breed of WMS that they like, and it's not about labor functionality, it's about billing and being able to keep track of charges and applying the right bills, invoices, sending the right invoices to their customers. So that's going to be one thing that has stopped. But also in any local market, unless you're shipping, like you said, Texas and Florida. But from Texas, I have to ship at least Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana. I have to be at least within a region for it to make sense.
Yep.
But if you're just shipping locally, you won't find a critical mass of clients who will fill your warehouse up, unless you build a tiny warehouse. But then it's not $1 billion bet, it's $1,000 bet.
Well, and I think another potential hurdle is the front end order intake system. Like if you say it's Jenny Craig, and I'm going to that website just to order a couple items, versus like an Amazon marketplace where I can order hundreds of different brands all in one shot. I think that'll make a big difference on your order profile, like your outbound order profile.
Well, you're saying the 3PL will succeed if they can have a lot of brands under one roof. Otherwise, because it's also well insulated, the package can be left in front of a door, but not if you're gone for a week for whatever vacation. It's not like it's just a package that doesn't expire, and so yeah, you need a lot of brands to make it attractive for someone to say, I'm going to order these things. Or I think you brought up also where you're from. There's a product that is not available where you live. You're from another state, another province, and you really, really want it. Then you're going to make that ordering.
Well, you think of, like the thought, Bluebell ice cream. You know, everybody in Texas loves. I actually don't be mad at me if I got that wrong. Just Bluebell ice cream is one of those regional brands that's beloved from where it comes from. And then as people move out of those regions, they still want access to Bluebell ice cream the way so many Canadians and Americans want Montreal Schwartz's in particular smoked meat. And so the ability to fill those orders for those famous brands, I mean, that's another example of somebody who'd be a good target client for this. So that interesting about the so the order management, or at least having a very well integrated system. There's a lot of interesting hurdles. We mentioned there's one that is also a challenge. Is a lot of our clients who do direct to consumer in frozen are running subscription type services. So you know, as we know, the design and the industrial engineering behind a subscription fulfillment business versus just receiving orders and picking them is very different. You can apply just pick them as orders logic to subscriptions, but that's highly inefficient, and your customers won't want to pay for that cost. They're going to expect that they will get benefits from a more assembly line process. So I don't know how, you know, who in that group has been thinking about all of these things, or if they plan to just stumble along as they go.
That's a good question. Like subscription obviously adds the benefit of leveling out your volume too, so you don't have these peaks and troughs. So, but again, to me, it really comes down to the assortment. Like, I'm not going to subscribe if there's nothing on there that's worth my time. But
well, level out throughout time, but within a week, that's where you can have quite speed. But then again, you can manage it on a daily basis. But maybe we should share that podcast with them, and maybe they're like, "Oh man, no one thought about this."
We should chase them down and see if they need any help.
To me, I think potentially one of the largest hurdles I think we've touched on is the labor. Like, to do this type of processing in a 3PL is going to require a significant amount of labor, and to get labor to work in a frozen environment is extremely difficult.
Always a challenge.
And I don't know if this is the type of process that you could automate somehow. I know automation also in a frozen environment is extremely difficult. So
it is such a hard thing to staff, and each picking means it's a 10-to-1 in terms of labor intensity. So the number of staff you need to get the product out is that much more. And often what we see is the inclination to keep the product stored in frozen environments, and then have the freezer doors where people pick in a cooler environment. And I'm very sympathetic. I understand that motive, but realistically, that's a horribly
inefficient,
less productive way of doing things. Imagine you're opening a door and picking. You're essentially doubling the labor per pick. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration what I just said, but visually you can understand it's 2 reaches for every 1 pick, or 1 reach for maybe you'll get 3 picks out of it. It's a very difficult thing to achieve profitability on. And so to your point, unless there is technology, and that's maybe where the $1 billion of betting comes in, because it sure does add up quickly. Did they say in the article, does anyone remember how many square feet they were building?
Each, or at least the first two buildings, are going to be 300,000 square feet each.
300,000
Huge.
square
Huge.
feet
It's huge for
of dedicated direct-to-consumer frozen space. That is-
Frozen and chilled. So they said it could basically go from lettuce to ice cream.
yeah, who's sending
Yeah.
lettuce?
Lettuce
direct to
doesn't make
consumer?
sense with
That
this.
makes- I know.
I
I
know.
mean, that's
Model.
just. I know.
That
that's
was just in the article.
That's just right. Journalistic flair.
Mhm.
But wow.
That's very special lettuce.
We will be paying attention with the great keen interest in what goes on there.
Hmm.
I mean, to me, there's no need to flog this beyond what it is. It's just an interesting story in the headlines. If anyone has any thoughts, please share them with us. We'd love to hear what you guys think.
Where we're wrong.
You know, is Chris right? Is this a guaranteed safe bet? Because worst comes to worst, you're just going to offer.
Traditional.
If you're in
3PL
Texas,
storage.
you're like, bring me up some Gulf shrimp. I'll freeze it for you. I'll
Yeah.
hold it in the freeze. Or are the risks of non-understanding? Too often, people make bets like this. Have they done the due diligence to understand all the nuances? You know, how do orders and what's the technology to get everything into for seamless operation? Do they understand the kind of labor challenge they have? And that freezer is not, automating in a freezer is no guaranteed thing. So there's that as well. How do we do the packaging, the last mile delivery? There's a lot of issues to think through.
Mm-hmm.
And do we understand who that perfect target customer is to fill up the space?
Well, there's a reason a lot of our automation vendors aren't knocking on our door saying, "Hey, have you tried this in a freezer?" Because it
It's
really doesn't work.
I know. But it does exist. You can solve some problems in a freezer.
Yeah. But it's not like a conventional ambient warehouse.
Do you know what? I'll tell you a funny story. In 1999, it was one of my first years of working, and there was the Y2K scare, and my boss had written a piece of code. I'm making it sound really small. It was a good 500 lines long, which still is small relatively, and it did one little thing, and there was a grocer in the UK who used it before sending orders to their WMS for sortation in their freezer. So cases would come to the sortation unit that operated in the freezer and then would, shunt down the lanes by store. But there was, for some reason, they had this sort of like Band-Aid MacGyver piece of code that I don't remember what it did. I was too junior, I didn't know anything. But my job, about 3 days before New Year's, was to change everywhere there was a date from 2 digits to 4.
Yeah.
And I had to do that, and then my boss had to check it, then I had to check him checking me, and then he had to check me checking, and then we sent it and just crossed our fingers. We thought there was the apocalypse, right? We thought
Yep.
the year 2000 all the computers would blow up, or half of them would blow up and then the other half would rise up against us. But actually nothing happened. So
Which is
It's
a
a good
tremendous
thing.
flop.
point is, even back then in the Stone Ages, we did have sortation equipment running effectively in the freezer.
Well, on this, I think we're done.
Done.